I a book of verses underneath the bough, a jug of wine, a loaf of bread, and thou beside me singing in the wilderness. Oh, wilderness were paradise enow. Some for the glories of this world, and some sigh for the prophet's paradise to come. Ah, take the cash, and let the credit go, nor heed the rumble of a distant drum. Look to the blowing rose about her slow, laughing, she says, into the world I blow. At once the silken tassel of my purse tear, and its treasure on the garden throw. And those who husbanded the golden grain and those who flung it to the winds like rain alike to no such aureate earth are turned as, buried once, men want dug up again. To think, in this battered caravanserai whose portals are alternate night and day, how sultan after sultan with his pomp abode his destined hour, and went his way. They say the lion and the lizard keep the courts where Jams hide gloried and drank deep, and Bar-M, the great hunter the wild ass stamp saw his head, but cannot break his sleep. I sometimes think that never blows so red the rose as where some buried Caesar bled, that every hyacinth the garden wears dropped in her lap from some once lovely head. And this reviving herb whose tender green fledges the rivulet on which we lean lean upon it lightly. For who knows from what once lovely lip it springs unseen. Ah, my beloved, fill the cup that clears today of past regrets and future fears. Tomorrow. Why, tomorrow I may be myself with yesterday's 7,000 years. For some we loved, the loveliest and the best that from his vintage rolling time hath pressed, have drunk their cup a round or two before, and one by one crept silently to rest, and weep, that now make merry in the room they left, and summer dresses in new bloom. Ourselves must we beneath the couch of earth descend ourselves to make a couch for whom? Ah, make the most of what we yet may spend, before we too into the dust descend, dust unto dust, and under dust to lie, sans wine, sans song, sans singer, and sans end. 3 with the grape my fading life provide, and wash my body whence the life has died, and lay me, shrouded in the living leaf, by some not unfrequented garden side. Yon rising moon that looks for us again, how oft hereafter will she wax and wane? How oft hereafter rising look o'er us through this same garden, and for one in vain? And when like a rosk, you shall pass among the guests star scattered on the grass, and in your joyous errand reach the spot where I made one turn down an empty glass. With blackest moss the flower plots were thickly crusted, one and all. The rusted nails fell from the knots that held the pair to the gable wall. The broken sheds looked sad and strange, unlifted was the clinking latch, weeded and worn the ancient thatch upon the lonely moated grange. She only said, my life is dreary, he cometh not. She said, I am aweary, I would that I were dead. Her tears fell with the dews at even, her tears fell ere the dews were dried. She could not look on the sweet heaven, either at morn or eventide. After the flitting of the bats, when thickest dark did trance the sky, she drew her casement curtain by, and glanced athwart the glooming flats. She only said, the night is dreary, he cometh not. She said, I am aweary, I would that I were dead. Upon the middle of the night, waking she heard the night fowl crow, the cock sung out an hour ere light, from the dark fen the oxen's low came to her, without hope of change. In sleep she seemed to walk forlorn, till cold winds woke the grey-eyed morn about the lonely moated grange. She only said, the day is dreary, he cometh not. She said, I am aweary, I would that I were dead. About a stone cast from the wall ace loose with blackened waters slept, and o'er it many, round and small, the clustered marish mosses crept. Hard by a poplar shook alway, all silver green with gnarled bark, for leagues no other tree did mark the level waste, the rounding grey. She only said, my life is dreary, he cometh not. She said, I am aweary, I would that I were dead. And ever when the moon was low, and the shrill winds were up and away, in the white curtain, to and fro, she saw the gusty shadow sway. But when the moon was very low, and wild winds bound within their cell, the shadow of the poplar fell upon her bed, across her brow. She only said, the night is dreary, he cometh not. She said, I am aweary, I would that I were dead. All day within the dreamy house, the doors upon their hinges creaked, the blue fly sung in the pane, the mouse behind the mouldering wainscot shrieked, or from the crevice peered about. Old faces glimmered through the doors, Old footsteps trod the upper floors. Old voices called her from without. She only said, "My life is dreary. He cometh not," she said, "I am aweary, I would that I were dead." The sparrows chirrup on the roof, the slow clock ticking, and the sound which to the wooing wind aloof the poplar made, did all confound her sense. But most she loathed the hour when the thick-moted sunbeam lay athwart the chambers, and the day was sloping toward his western bower. "Then," said she, "I am very dreary, he will not come," she said, she wept, "I am aweary, oh God, that I were dead."